welcome to the Light and Energy Show with me, Claire Wild. I'm joined today with the lovely Rhian, Crystal Priestess. Welcome, Rhian.
Thank you, Claire.
We started our trip today at the Roll Right Stones, as you saw earlier, but because of the weather being wet and damp and not very nice, we've now decamped to Wyatt's Farm Shop for a lovely cup of tea and to talk with Rhian more about the crystal skulls. So, Rhian, thank you so much for bringing these skulls. They're amazing, absolutely amazing. Could we start by actually me asking you, how did you get into using the crystal skulls?
Sure. Well, obviously I was on a spiritual journey like a lot of us, and as part of that I came across all the legends of Atlantis, and was really fascinated by the concept of the crystal skulls, or at least the skull of Atlantis. Also very fascinated by those Mayan prophecies that talk of the 13 crystal skulls perhaps coming out of the etheric, ready for the planetary shift to take place in 2012. And I just knew intuitively that there was something special about crystal skulls for me, and I just wanted to find out more about them. So I had my eye out every time I went into a crystal shop to see if there was a crystal skull waiting for me. And actually for quite a few years there wasn't. And I started to lose hope. One day I just came across quite a small rose quartz skull hidden in the corner of a crystal shop, and I just looked at her and thought, oh, there you are.
So you feel the skulls find you rather than you find the skulls?
I feel they do. I mean, there's lots of crystal skulls available nowadays. They're a lot more readily available now than they were even 5 years ago. So you can buy them in most crystal shops now. You can buy them on the internet. But at the time, sort of 5-6 years ago, it was a little bit more tricky to find them, and you would only find 1 or 2 hidden away in a cabinet somewhere in a new age shop if you were lucky.
Do you think it's because as we're moving towards this 2012 shift, they're actually wanting to be found?
I think they are. I think it's become an increasingly popular thing to do, to work with these skulls, even on a small scale. And we were talking before, Claire, you don't have to have a huge crystal skull in order to work with the crystal skull consciousness. You can have a very small piece of crystal that's carved into a skull shape. Or even you could find a natural stone that almost looks as though it's taken skull form, and you can work with it that way as well. And I think that over time the crystal skull consciousness has become much stronger, partly because light workers have started to tap into it and bring that energy in a more accessible way. So yes, I think this has become much more popular in recent times.
Could you tell us about some of these marvellous skulls that you've brought with us? They are just amazing.
Of course. Well, I'll just pick up the biggest and heaviest there. I don't know if you want to hold her. She's nearly a stone in weight, actually.
And believe me, she's incredibly heavy. She's amazing.
So she's a Mongolian crystal skull. She is reported to be ancient, although I haven't had any scientific work done to date her. But she is a Mongolian style carving, so as you can see she has those big eye sockets and the big pronounced third eye there. It's believed that the ancient Mongolian shaman carved their own crystal skulls that were used in ceremony and for medicine and healing work. And each Mongolian skull that's found is unique. They're all slightly different in terms of their shape and size and weight. She's a golden calcite. You can also find white calcite Mongolians. They can also be cleaned up. I know a couple of guardians who have actually scrubbed and cleaned away the patina on these skulls, and the rainbows are absolutely incredible. I believe they have an iron oxide that's formed on the outside of them, or some sort of patina due to their age, and you can see she's still got some mud around her in places, because I haven't. She hasn't actually asked me to clean her, so this is how she came to me. But yes, she's quite an unusual
She is an incredible shape, isn't she? Very unusual shape. Yes. And this particular skull, was this given to you, this one?
I got this skull from Dr. Frank Liu, who's over in Hong Kong. He is well known for having found homes for the Himalayan crystal skulls that were found well over 10 years ago now. Yeah. And he finds a lot of Mongolian crystal skulls through his contacts over there in China, and he finds them homes in Europe or the UK or America, dependent upon where they are destined to go. Because we do believe, I think most of us as caretakers believe that we have worked with these skulls before in past or parallel lifetimes, and they are calling to find us again to do their work at this really important time.
To reconnect with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I certainly believe that our souls have chosen this time to be reincarnated in order for the work that there is to do at this moment in time. Yes. And do you have a name for her?
She's called Kamara.
Kamara.
She gave me her name. I'd seen photographs of her, and a decision had been made that she was coming to me. So I was connecting with her in my meditation time, and she gave me her name. I can't really translate the name exactly, but it's a goddess energy that I work with through her, a mother energy, and that real kind of expansive golden source-like divine feminine energy that comes through her. So I feel her name somehow connects vibrationally with that energy.
Yeah. Gosh, she is incredible. And as I say, quite a weight. Thank you. Okay. And what about this rather handsome chap here?
Yeah, he's quite new. He's a new addition to my family. I call him Atlantis for obvious reasons.
Yes.
He's made of azurite and chrysocolla, so that's why you've got this incredible blue to his on the top of his head there. But if you look at the other side of him, he's sort of got two islands there of chrysocolla in green and brown. So that's why I call him Atlantis. He is a modern carving. I believe he's a Chinese carving. He has that real dolphin dragon island energy to him. He's quite new to my family, as I say, so at the moment he is just learning to integrate with the other skulls that sit there on my altar. Each of them seems to have their place, and they know which of their peers they want to work with.
Order they're in.
Funnily enough, he doesn't particularly want to work with the Mongolians, but he seems to work very, very well with a star being skull that I have. He also works very well with the quartz and the rose quartz skulls I have. But he just doesn't want to be placed with the Mongolians. So I just follow what he guides me to do.
They know the energies of what are right for what they're trying to do at this moment.
That's right.
Yeah, fantastic. And who have we got here?
this little guy, I call him Sedona Boy because I did find him in Sedona. I share his guardianship with White Elk Woman from Kent. We were in Sedona together, and we came across him in a crystal shop amongst a lot of other modern, very conventional looking skull carvings, and she had seen him and she picked him up, and she just was blown away by the energy. So over I came, and we started to work with him together. I was channeling energy through him, and he started to really expand and change colour, and we both felt this amazing connection. So we looked at each other, and I said, well, if you're not getting him, I am. And she said, well, maybe in that case we should share his guardianship. So we made the decision that we would share him. The owner of the shop then told us that someone had come in a few months previously with a huge ancient crystal skull, a quartz skull, and he had been attuned to this skull. Now, we don't know which skull that was. We only had the description. It could have been one of a number of ancient skulls, and as you know, people who do this work visit Sedona all the time, so it could really have been anyone with any skull. But there was definitely something different about him. He's also a very different shape to the conventional skull carving. He's sort of, when you place him on the table, it's almost as though he's stargazing.
Right, yes, you can see the eye sockets are definitely pointing more upwards than forwards,
That's right.
aren't they?
And so for that reason, we feel that he's very much connected in with the star beings.
Yeah.
He's also functioning as a portal at the moment, and he has channeled a lot of interesting information to me, which I'll be delivering later on this year in workshops, about how we can activate ourselves as a portal for star energy. So he does seem to be connected in with that level of information. Sharon, White Elk Woman, calls him Portal. I call him Sedona Boy. He doesn't mind. And that's the amazing thing about these skulls, is that for one person they can be one thing and give a certain level of information, but then in the hands of another person or another guardian they can interact totally differently, and it does seem to depend on the energetic state of the individual as to the information they give and how they interact. So they're quite unique and quite incredible.
So they're giving the information that that person needs for them, rather than information that is more general.
Precisely, which is why certainly with my skulls I like to take them out. I like to connect them with people, because people just get so much from these skulls. It just depends on what they need to hear as an individual, but it might be a feeling, a message, a sense, an image that they receive, and everybody receives something different. And these skulls like to get out there, get handled, and really do their work.
I have to say, I don't suppose you can see it particularly well on camera, but as you look into this skull, the actual textures inside are just amazing. And you could sit and just look at it for hours and see something different all the time and feel the energy that he's actually giving you. Yes. And who's we got here?
Oh right, well this is a modern carving as well. I believe she's female. She's female to me anyway, Claire. I work with the Isis energy through this skull, the Sirius energy. I'm very, very interested in Egyptian wisdom. I believe I myself have had many past lives in ancient Egypt, and so I really have an affinity with that culture. I also love, as I said at the beginning of the interview, those legends of Atlantis. And there's a huge link between the ancient Egyptian wisdom and Atlantean wisdom, of course. So I work strongly with the Isis energy through this particular skull. That amethyst colour is a real activator as well for the feminine intuition and the third eye. It's also an incredibly healing energy that comes through with Isis, especially for women who are working with healing women's issues. So I often use her for that kind of work. Because I'm a professional clairvoyant as well as a crystal skull guardian, these skulls support me with my private work with clients. So quite often she will come out and she will assist with some healing work, specifically for women, or for readings that I've been asked to give that involve those female issues, family, relationship issues, for example. And she's very wise. She feels like a very wise being to me coming through this skull.
So do people have to be with you in order for you to use the skulls for healing with them?
Not at all, not at all. People do come and they lie on the healing couch and they have the skulls in the room or placed around them, and that's absolutely fine. I also have some very small skulls that can be placed on the body or on the chakra points, and you can heal with them that way. But equally, I work with them distantly, so I will channel the energy and I will send that energy right across the globe. I have clients in America, I have clients in Europe, and I work with the skull energy with those clients for healing as well. I also use the skulls to create healing mandalas or healing crystal grids. So I will use sacred geometry, raw crystals and the crystal skulls to create geometric healing shapes that can be photographed, and then the client can link in with the energy of that photograph if they want to do so, or I can literally just do that and send the energy distantly. It's a bit like distant healing, distant Reiki, whereby you create a bridge between yourself as the practitioner and the client, and you send the energy across, because this energy works across and through time, space and all dimensions. You don't have to physically be there.
And I can imagine it's a really powerful energy when used in that way with the grid as well.
It is powerful. It's very, very gentle though, to be honest with you, because the skulls will never give you more than you could cope with as an individual. Yes, we all have to shift and change, and sometimes that can be a difficult process, so we might need to shed a tear, or we might need to sleep, or we might need to just acknowledge some profound realisation. But what they don't do is send us into chaos.
No.
They do look after us. They know our capabilities.
So they give you what you need at that moment in time, and no more.
They do.
Yeah, fantastic. So who do you think, perhaps, with the Mongolian skull here, who do you think may have carved these? You were talking about the shamans. Would they have carved them of how they saw themselves, or it is such an amazing shape? It's
an amazing shape. I don't know if you want to have a closer look at this particular skull. The truth of the matter is that we don't know for sure. There's a possibility that each individual shaman had their own skull that was used for healing, for magical work, for sacred work, and that the shaman perhaps carved the skull either in their own image, and by that I mean an aspect of their image, perhaps. Perhaps this is some kind of etheric or starry aspect of the shaman's image. But equally there's a possibility that there were a group of carvers who carved the Mongolian skulls, and then took the skulls out and distributed them amongst the villages and amongst the tribes. We don't know for sure. What we do know is that they are very unusual. There are lots of stories in China and in the inner Mongolian area about visitors from outer space, extraterrestrial visitors. It's possible, entirely possible, that these skulls were carved in their image, because if you look at those big eye sockets and that big third eye, they don't look particularly human, do they?
No. And as we see on so many ancient carvings and ancient pictures, what seems to me obvious, that aliens actually did visit this planet, so it's perfectly reasonable that they did that. And why not? I mean, at the end of the day, the skull is the lens for a being or an energy to come through and connect with us. So I don't personally like to get too hung up on the physicality of these skulls. What's important to me is the positive energy and the spiritual connections I receive through them. Now one day it's possible that we won't need skulls at all, and skulls will be in the etheric or have gone back to the earth. But we will still be able to connect with their consciousness, and that's what's important to me. So I try not to worry too much about facts and figures with this work. It's just what feels right to me. And the energy that's being brought through to you. My goodness, that's absolutely fascinating. Thank you.
What's also interesting, I might just point out, is the teeth. As you can see, the skull has a number of teeth missing. Now, if you look at the Mongolians that live with other caretakers, some have all their teeth, but very few. Mostly they have teeth missing, but they have different teeth missing. So we have wondered amongst us, the community of caretakers, whether there is some meaning encoded into those teeth. Now there is correspondence there between the numbers, if you were to assign each tooth a number, and some kind of harmonic resonance, perhaps. So perhaps that's the vibrational key to each skull. Perhaps they mirror the healing issues of the caretaker, because there's information out there suggesting that each tooth represents something different to us karmically,
right,
or even
right.
physically.
Yes,
And I'm not an expert in that,
right.
but I have heard that suggested.
And that's a really interesting concept, isn't it?
But there are caretakers out there who are very interested in the teeth and who actually work with those vibrations of the teeth. But as I say, we don't have any information that's sort of set in stone on these things, but it's just something to consider.
It is, yeah. Thank you. And would you like to tell us as well, you've got some very interesting plans in progress, haven't you, for this coming year? Would you like to share with us a little bit about
I have. In March, I'm taking the skulls over to Holland. I'm going to give a talk on Shambhala and the Mongolian crystal skulls, because there does seem to be an interesting link between the skulls and the concept of Shambhala, which is that elusive heavenly kingdom where the ancients and the ascended masters are said to dwell in Tibetan and Mongolian mythology. So I'm going to give a talk on that in Holland, and also take skulls along to share with the delegates at the conference at the time. So that's going to be a really lovely experience for me going over there. I'm also taking the skulls over to Hungary in April, going over with a colleague who also works with skulls, and we're going to work with a Hungarian shaman and some spiritual groups. We'll have to see what that has in store, because I'm very much open. We're going to do a lot of land energy work, so I'm very much open to the possibilities of what will happen over there. I love working on the land, and the skulls love working on the land as well. There's a lot of healing work to be done with Mother Earth, but also it's about raising the vibration of the planet, and so by travelling with these skulls, I'm hopefully weaving that little web of light, or at least making my contribution to that web of light that we need to weave. So they will go over to Hungary, and then in May we're going over to Crete. So that will be lovely as well. We're going to do a lot of Atlantean work over in Crete, as well as give some workshops on the skulls, because many people haven't connected with crystal skulls at all. So we want to get them out there. It's myself and White Elk Woman in Crete. We want to get them out there working together, and hopefully people will start to take an interest and perhaps choose to work with skulls of their own, which would be fabulous.
Absolutely, and amazing to take them to all these places and to share this with other people is such a wonderful thing to do. That's lovely. Wow. Well, I hope you found this as fascinating as I have. Absolutely incredible, and thank you so much for bringing the skulls and sharing them with us. All of the information about Rhian can be found on her website. The links will be on our website, the www.thelightenenergychannel.tv, and of course on Facebook, and Rhian is also on Facebook too, so you can connect with her there. So, enlighten energy from me, and thank you very much again, Rhian.
Thank you.
Goodbye.